Yeah, sure. My wife and I paid down $43,000 worth of debt in about a year, but we actually made a ton of mistakes during this process. So, in this video, I wanted to show you our debt tracker from 5 years ago, walk through kind of what we did, all the mistakes that we made, and then tell you how I would have fixed that going forward, because I hope that can help you going through your debt journey. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So, yeah, this was the old spreadsheet. Brings back some memories here. As you can see, we started tracking this in November of 2019. And basically, this date here is every time my wife and I, we had a 5 to 10 minute meeting, a literal meeting in our living room to talk about debt. Because as you can see, she had debt that was sort of in her name. I had debt that was in my name. We were married, but we didn't really change it over or whatever. We both kind of brought stuff into the relationship. As you can see, hers was way more, by the way. So guys, marry for money and not for debt, okay? It's just a little tip from me to you. So I wanted to go through this file because I thought we did a much better job strategizing towards paying down our debt, okay? And after looking at this for just a few minutes, I was like, what are we doing? Okay, I know right now you just see a bunch of numbers, so I'm gonna go through some of this, but this is like an embarrassment, and it's things that I would tell people to avoid now. First of all, if you never have tracked your debt before, even something like this is better than nothing, okay? So we basically just had, what the debt was it mine or my wife's, and then we each time we met, what was the outstanding balance of each of the loans, and this was the total remaining debt that we had. So obviously you can see it drop down here, and then I just added this just for this video, how much was paid during each of the months, okay? And we could sort of look at that. So unfortunately, I don't have the data here. Like, I don't have the interest rates, I don't have the minimum payment, so I don't really know what we were working with back then, or even if we had a strategy. It looks like in the first month, so my wife had 3 student loans here. These are all SL, that's student loans. So we had 3 student loans. We just paid off 2 of them immediately. The 2 smallest ones, we got rid of it. And if you're in a position where it doesn't matter the size of the loan, if you can just get rid of a debt, just get rid of it, okay? And it's not always about optimizing. It's about just being more intentional, right? Because debt, we all know, if you've been in debt, it's more than just money. It's more than numbers. There's, psychological aspects to it. There's emotional, there's mental, there's all these like things, because it's way more than money. So if you have the opportunity, pay something off. And that's what we did here. So kudos to us on that. So there's a couple line items here where we basically, so this line item for Discover for my wife, we didn't really use it, and then for some reason we spent $450 on it. Not really sure what that was. And also down here, my Discover, apparently Discover is, the thing to do here, but these transactions were new transactions, okay? So we were in all this debt, and we just kept using credit cards throughout, which was just so stupid. And as you can see, like the first 3 months of this, we paid down $12,000. So that's like pretty aggressive. We had money just in our bank account. Like we were not optimized. It was very stupid. But we had the money to just like not pay credit cards. And I think what we were trying to do was just keep like deferring all the expenses down the road and kick the can down the road. And I understand why we did it back then, but that's not what I would recommend anyone to do. Like, if you have the money, first of all, to not have to use a credit card when you're paying down $43,000 worth of debt, I would not do that. So that was a mistake that we made. Similarly, this Firestone credit card, my wife's car had to get a new sensor, and those things are freaking expensive. They're like $1,500. Anyway, obviously, again, we had the cash, right? Because the first month we paid off $5,400. So instead of just opening a new line of credit and like, again, just deferring the cost down the road, we should have just paid for it, $1,500. I don't know why we didn't. And then this one here, this Capital One. So looks like I started using this in February 2020, because that's when it started. And I believe this had a 0 interest time frames for it. So that's why I think what happened was, you could see the Discover that I had. I was spending. And then we just pretty much stopped using the Discover and pushed everything to the Capital One, because there was interest free for X period of time. I don't really remember what it was. It was probably 12 months. So we thought that was a good strategy, but it's kind of dangerous, right? Because look what's happening. We got up to $3,000. It kept going up, $4,500, and then went down. Then it's up to $5,000. It's just dangerous, because if you're not able to pay it off in time, then the interest is just going to kill you. And as I'm looking through some of these months here, I'm like, what were we doing? So look at this Amazon that my wife had, this Amazon Chase card. So in November, we reported $6,396. And in December, we recorded $6,394. So we paid $2 off of this? Or did we pay like a minimum and we used more of the card? I don't know. I'm pretty sure $2 wasn't the minimum. That's very stupid. I don't know what happened there. And then it went up. We went up, and then we started to slowly pay it down, okay? So Don't know what we were doing with that one. And I do think this student loan here that my wife had, the one that we were slowly paying down, I think it had one of the smallest interest rates that we had in total. So that's why we were sort of playing the longer game on this one. It looks like we were maybe making minimum payments and then some. Looks like we forgot to make one here. This is the same total. Again, like what did we talk about in these meetings where we would like just miss all these stupid things? So yeah, we just kind of scroll through here. And as you can see, like we pay down $12,000, but then the next month we pay down $700. I don't know. I don't remember specifically. Did we have all this money? What I would try to do is try to set an allocated amount towards your debt and just use that. We were just sort of, it seemed like we were just all over the place. I think we were just putting whatever money we had at the end of the month towards it. A lot of these were automated, but I don't know how much of a plan we really had. And when I always think back to it, I always thought we did such a great job doing this. And I just I don't think that anymore after looking at this. It's pretty crazy. And you can see here this Amex card. I believe this had an interest-free period. It looks like up until April 2020, because we were like, oh shit, we got to pay this off. We were super aggressive with that. And I think these were just monthly charges that we kept using. Again, don't use a credit card for additional payments when you're trying to pay off all this debt, right? It's just so silly. You don't want to like get caught where you're deferring the cost, deferring the debt, and then you get to a point and you're like, oh crap, now the interest is rolling up and we have to continue to pay it down, okay? So while I'm pretty proud of us that we were able to just even do this, I'm looking at this and I just feel like we made a ton of mistakes. But that's okay because it's not perfect, and pretty much what we did was we tried to just get rid of loans and loans and loans and try to pay off one or two every month or two. And but yeah, this is just wild to look at. But if only I had this file when I was going through this, it would have made life a lot easier. Now, this is the debt payment calculator that I've created recently to try and help people like yourself pay down debt. And it's just so much easier. There's built-in strategy, so you're not going to get like the all over the place strategy that we were sort of using, even though back in the day it seemed like we had a good strategy. But anyway, basically with this calculator, what you're going to want to do, similar to what I did in the old version, but you want your creditor type, something that's easy for you to remember. You want your current balance. So this is the, balance as of right now, or the day that you put in the spreadsheet, the interest rate, which I was missing, and the minimum payment, which I was missing. And these will help you calculate, one, the interest that you'll be paying throughout your entire loan, and two, the minimum payment is going to help you understand what is the bare minimum you have to pay, and then all the extra money goes towards the priority debt. So basically what you're going to do, enter that information, come down here to this area, and you want to enter in the amount of money that you're allocating towards your debt every single month. Now, remember, in my file, it's sort of a free-for-all. Whatever money we had, we threw at it. But to start, just make sure you have something that you can allocate for. So in this case, let's say you had a minimum payment total of $300, and we're adding $500 towards our debt every single month. What this is going to do, it's going to calculate down here. Again, we have our loans that we entered, our balance, and now it's calculating the total interest that we're going to be paying for each of the loans, the amount of months it's going to take to pay off each of the loans, and the approximate date where you will become debt-free from that line item, and then eventually debt-free in total of all your debt. And then so while you can play around with the snowball strategy, which the calculator is going to order your debt from lowest loan to highest loan, or you can play around with the avalanche method here. And as you can see, some of the data changed, and that's going to prioritize your highest interest rate first, all the way down to your lowest interest rate. Now, if you're interested in this calculator, by the way, it's down in the description. It's completely free, so check that out so you can follow along. The last thing I wanted to talk about was this other tab, this payment schedule. And I think this would have helped me out a lot back in the day, 5 years ago, when we were trying to figure this out. So basically what we have here is a summary of the strategy, how much money we're paying, and then it's sort of a description of all the loans and all the stats of the loans, etc. And this area is going to show us basically how much money to allocate towards each of the debts based on the strategy, based on the amount of money that we're putting towards our debt. So you remember that in the calculator, the minimum payment was $300, and we added $500, so $200 more than the minimum payment was going towards our debt. Now, this snowball section here is going to show us the extra amount. And if you remember, so right now we have the avalanche strategy, which is taking the highest interest rate first. That's the priority that we want to pay off. So you'll be paying off your minimum loans on your two smallest interest rates, and then your minimum on your largest plus the extra $200. So that's where this 310 comes from. And then you can see here how long all of these are going to be paid off and the amount of money that you would want towards putting the debt. And then you see where this one gets paid off, the snowball transfers to the next largest interest rate, and the same thing happens. It transfers again all the way down, and you can see now we're just paying $500 a month towards this extra loan. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you. I really wish I had this or created this 5 years ago, but if you found value, let me know down in the comments where you stand with your debt, what strategy are you using, and I will see you in the next one.